The other big story today was Timo Werner, Gab. Just give us the latest, because Bild were reporting that Leipzig have withdrawn him from the Champions League squad, that he could be going to Chelsea as soon as July, despite the fact, obviously, Leipzig's still in the Champions League and would have a match in August.
Yeah, this is an odd one, and it's not something I necessarily understand. I mean, I presume it's, and let me clear this up off the top. If he moves to Chelsea, he can't actually play for Chelsea until the registration window reopens in the Champions League, which will be next season. And he can't play for Chelsea in the Premier League either until the season is over, because you have a transfer window and a registration window. I can only assume this has something to do with the clause that's in his contract that has to be actioned by a certain day, and of course Chelsea willing to pay the money, and so somehow they the way it's written, they get control of him earlier. A little bit like if you remember Hakim Ziyech, of course, moving from Ajax to Chelsea. That's a free transfer. He becomes a Chelsea player on July 1st, but they can't actually play him because they can't register him. So I assume it's something like that. It seems like an odd one to me, but equally I could see from Chelsea's perspective how, having spent a lot of money on him, if you can avoid him playing in the Champions League and risking injury. But I certainly talk about leaving your club on bad terms if you agree to this.
Gab, is it naive of me? Could he not just come to some sort of arrangement with Chelsea and say, look, okay, I've signed with you, I'm a Chelsea player, but come on, I've gone on this whole run with Leipzig, I'd like to see it out?
I don't think it's naive of you at all. And I think he may yet come to that arrangement. I think he's gained a little bit of leverage, perhaps, over Werner. I found the story a little bit confusing and not entirely clear-cut. I think there might be things that we don't know. I certainly hope he does. Because, when you sign a contract, clearly the meaning of that contract is the end of the season. But then again, and I flagged this up a long time ago, this whole June 30th thing is a big issue with players' contracts ending, with clauses kicking in, with loan periods ending. And I think it's something that clubs need to address in double quick time.
This is a head-scratcher, isn't it, Stevie?
Yeah, it is a little. Gab's pretty much laid out from Leipzig and Timo Werner's point of view, but 100% from Chelsea's point of view. Why do you don't want this guy playing? I'll be shocked if he doesn't go to Chelsea as soon as they possibly can get him there. I mean, it would be a lovely story. Oh, I can finish the season out with Leipzig and then go to Chelsea. But listen, at the end of the day, it's a business. And it's not good business for Chelsea.
Yeah, but from your perspective, Steve, if you're Timo Werner, you'd want to see it out, wouldn't you?
Mm. Yeah, but they've just spent whatever million on him. If I'm Chelsea, I don't want them to see it out.
No, but what if you're Timo Werner?
I mean, it's pretty. Sorry?
What if you're Timo Werner?
Well, if you're Timo Werner, you want to be a nice guy. And it never crosses your mind that you're going to get injured ever. But the fact is, it happens. And so, from Chelsea's point of view, it's, you know what, we've just spent a lot of money on you to play for us, not to play for them and get injured. So it's a business decision. It's not a gentleman's decision, shall we say? If I'm Abramovich, I'm like, he's our player. He's not playing for them. If he gets injured, then we're done.
Don?
Dan.
Yeah, go on.
Well, if I'm Timo Werner, I would insist that I wouldn't go to Chelsea, and I would insist that I want to try and win the Champions League with Leipzig. Surely, because he hasn't signed for Chelsea yet. So surely he can still be registered for the latter stages of the Champions League. He can say to Leipzig, "Okay, I am going to go, but only when we have exited the competition. While we're in it, I want to be a Champions League winner."
Go on, Gab.
Dan, there's another element to this, which is the fact that the German season, will finish by the end of June. The Champions League, if it resumes, and we'll know a lot more in the next 24 hours, UEFA's executive committee meeting on Wednesday, isn't going to restart until August 12th. So you're talking about 6 weeks during which he would hang around at Leipzig, waiting for possibly one quarterfinal. And and that's a time when, remember, the new season in the Premier League is going to start in September. So I think Chelsea would make the point that, well, we want you to be ready. Chelsea, of course, out of the Champions League, virtually out. So they want to be in a position where they say, well, we want you ready for training camp so you can hit the ground running when the new Premier League season starts up in September. I think that's going to be the most difficult part to deal with, is the fact also that the Bundesliga ends there, and he's going to have 6 weeks without football and then be asked to go and play a quarter-final. I think that also plays into this.
It also tells you as well how much Nagelsmann and Leipzig really value Timo Werner. Because if they're quite happy with him not being in the squad and allow him to go to Chelsea while they're in the Champions League, it says to me that Nagelsmann's got better players, or he thinks he's got better players that can cope. If they need him, they need to try and keep him on if they're serious about winning the Champions League.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.